Thank you, Rotarian Melissa. Okay. Thank you, Rotarian Melissa. So as the name of the meeting suggests, it is required for the discussions on classification of Rotary. We have so many Rotarians to give a talk on their classifications. I would like to call upon Rotarian John Bowles of Central Texas for providing the insights on hospitality.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much for inviting us today. My favorite part of Rotary is the international meeting people from all over the world. So this is just fantastic. So I don't know, we submitted a picture if you have it, but to flash up at some point. But my husband and I, he spoke just earlier, were both born and raised in Texas. And I retired as a teacher, educational diagnostician, administrator, and my husband as a Lutheran pastor. And we moved to the 320-acre ranch that was my parents'. And we built 4 cabins out of cedar, pine that were cut on the ranch and decorated them very much in a Texas theme. The ranch is rolling hills with landscapes of large pine trees. And in 2000, which has been 20 years ago, we opened up the 9E Ranch Bed and Breakfast. And that was before Airbnb even existed. I think Mark Chesney was probably in diapers then. Anyway, so we opened up a bed and breakfast, and people from all over the world came and stayed with us. And we've hosted guests who wanted a taste of Texas. And our ranch has many things that people can enjoy, and they come and enjoy seeing Kent's big longhorn pets that he calls up and throws feed to, and many people have never seen a longhorn. We have birds and deer and horses and donkeys and hiking paths, and people enjoy seeing nature and being in nature. And in addition, so because it was a cattle ranch, when my dad bought it, he cut down a lot of the trees. So I have been busy replanting trees. And we plant trees also as part of our club, supporting the environment. Our Rotary E-Club, because we also are spread out, have come up with a service project that we can all do together. We call Green Steps. And through Green Steps, our club each month focuses on something that club members can do individually to support the environment. For instance, the step 1 is reducing plastic by reusable water bottles, Meatless Monday because of the impact of cattle on our environment, planting pollinator gardens. Step 4, mindful mowing instead of mowing before the wildflowers go to seed, to wait, and planting trees. So that's kind of been the focus of our club, and hospitality is my classification. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share.
Well, thank you, John, for your wonderful talking regarding the hospitality classification. So, well, when we move on to the next classification, it's the space sciences, and I would like to call upon Rotarian A. Vaidyanathan of Coimbatore Changemakers.
Yeah, good morning, good evening all. Am I audible?
Yeah, sure. Carry on.
Yeah, warm good evening to all my fellow Rotarians. And I am A. Vaidyanathan, a Rotarian from Rotary E-Club of Coimbatore Changemakers. I feel immense pleasure, and also I am so excited to meet the fellow Rotarians here, my fellow Rotarians, and also the Rotarians across the world. And I am a space scientist by profession for the past 17 years, and I am a Rotarian by heart. We all would have heard that if someone says or does a very difficult work, we asked them, is it audible? Can you go ahead?
Just wait a minute. Rotarian Srinivas, can you just please unmute yourself? Just mute yourself. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on. Go ahead.
Am I audible? Shall I
Yeah,
proceed?
you're audible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm A. Vaidyanathan, Rotarian from Rotary Club of E-Club of Coimbatore, Changemakers. And I'm a space scientist by profession for past 17 years, and I'm a Rotarian by heart. We all would have heard that if someone does a very difficult thing, and we ask him, what? Is it so difficult as a rocket science? So that word from my young age fascinated me. And during my college days, I was also inspired by the autobiography of our beloved 11th President of India, Bharat APJ Abdul Kalam, which made me to choose this profession. Being a space science, I'll just brief small thing on what it does. And space science basically deals with developing satellites for our various applications and parallelly developing space launch vehicles, which we call it as rockets, to put these satellites in the required orbit. Today, each and everyone in the world, knowingly or unknowingly, utilizes the applications of space, starting from seeing the satellite channels in TV, which we like, or going to ATM to draw our money. We directly or indirectly use the applications of space, and also the new Internet of Things, which is connecting us, is backed with the space science. The space missions are broadly classified into three categories. One is the remote sensing, where we put the satellites into space for doing remote sensing. And the major applications for remote sensing is weather prediction, surveying the land, and city planning, and also the prediction and your internal security from your neighboring nations. And the second major application for space science is the communication satellites, where we launch satellites for communication. The intercontinental communication now has become very easy. In a single click in a mobile, you could be able to speak to anyone in this world very soon. This is because of the network of the communication satellites which we have put in the geostationary orbit. And there are also a lot of satellites which have been put for new applications. Like in India, we have put an educational satellite called EduSat, where all these universities, like the remote universities in the remote places, can get connected to a good university or a central university. Like today, even a student in a remote engineering college can hear to the lecture of an IIT professor who is taking a class. These are made with satellites even before these internet and the Zoom have took over. And also telemedicine, where a doctor in a very good hospital can see or diagnose a patient who is sitting in a remote island of Andaman or Lakshadweep, and with the help of a local doctor, he can just diagnose and give him a required treatment, and he can make him all right, or even he can guide the doctor over here and ask them to bring the patient to the nearby hospital to give or to save his life. And the next thing is the most fascinating thing in the space science is the scientific missions, where we go for the space explorations, where we send the satellites to the interplanetary missions and search of extraterrestrial intelligence and sending the humans to space. These are the never-ending quest of human to know its origin, where we have come from, where this universe has come from, to know. And even now we say that there are millions of light years away, there are human, and still we are trying to know that. And coming to our missions, scientific missions, we have sent Chandrayaan mission, our maiden mission to moon, which has which was a maiden successful mission to moon, and along with the various 11 payloads from different countries in it, we could able to say that the water is there in the moon, underneath the surface of the moon. And also the Mangalyaan mission, our first mission to Mars, was a grand success, which has changed the understanding of what we had on moon and Mars. And our second mission to moon, Chandrayaan 2, which was a lander and a rover. And our future missions like Aditya, we are going to send a satellite to study the sun. Everyone knows that, sun is a major component of universe, and all the planets revolve around the sun, and it's a never-ending source. And we should know, if sun stops radiating, all our planet sinks into it. So we should know the force behind it. So we are sending a mission to study, and which will be aiding the Parker mission, which is flown by NASA to study the sun. And once we launch Aditya mission, our data can be analyzed in parallel with the Parker mission's data. And these are the major classifications of space science. And being a space scientist, I also take the responsibility to make various outreach program to bring the space knowledge to the public and also the students, because the students today, the students should know what the science is and what the space science is. So we regularly visit the colleges and various universities, and where for the students we conduct various competitions and various projects, and we also give them prizes, and we also display our videos and cards and scientific models, and we be there with the students, and we interact with the students. And we also, our basic thing behind this, we should ignite the mind of the school students. So this, we are in this job. And being a Rotarian now, I take this privilege that even all the Rotarians who are all across the world, who knowingly or unknowingly uses the application of this space, I take the responsibility that I should make them aware of this space science. And with this, I conclude, and I thank all the Rotarians for giving me this opportunity. A few small thought on my profession and the space science, along with the other fellow Rotarians. Thank you all.
Well, thank you, Rotarian Vaidyanathan, for giving a great insight on all the various missions like Mars and even the remote sensings and everything. So it's great to hear all those missions and all those endeavors which is done by ISRO and NASA, everything. So let's move on to the next classification. Like the classification of the software, we have Rotarian Ishwar Reddy from Rotary eClub of E-Connect.
Hello, hi everybody. My name is Ishwar Reddy, and I'm joining from San Jose City in California, the Bay Area. Yeah, I'd like to talk about my experience in the industry, in the IT industry, information technology, we call it, and which I think most of you might, should be experiencing what an IT industry is by now. But I just want to say what my work has been, and what's the role I play, and what I work with. So I work in a manufacturing company, and it has about 100 sites across the world, all regions, in Americas, Asia, Europe, everywhere. The manufacturing sites where products are being made, all the products that you are using, like cell phones to laptops to ventilators to autonomous, any of the units that are electronic manufacturing. So all these factories are using IT systems, isn't it? Computer systems to record their work, transactions. So all of these are running on applications, and these applications are centrally managed. And that's where I come into picture. Is we have what is called a data center. And globally, since our operations are across the globe, We have 3 data centers, one in California, one in Singapore, and one in Germany, Düsseldorf. And these 3 data centers are hosting servers. They call it the big servers, where the data is coming in, accessing and processing, and again, showing it back to displaying it back to the users, whether it's in China, let's say, whether it's in, Hong Kong, whether it's in Brazil, or in Europe, one of the sites in Hungary, or any of these sites where continuous manufacturing is happening, all 24/7. So the systems have to be up and running, and the performance for the users in the shop floor, the users are on the shop floor. Remember, the warehouses, or whether it is shipping or receiving or manufacturing, all of these places, the performance of the system has to be very up and running, and it has to be usable. Otherwise, their productivity is lost, and the manufacturing, productivity is lost. So the role is to keep these systems up and running in 3 data centers and maintain their business functions. What are the business functions? All the business functions, right from manufacturing the electronic boards and assembling, and that is called the shop floor systems, we call, isn't it? These are the shop floor system. Warehouse management system, if you see, warehousing is what is it? Receiving parts, materials, and then stocking it, and again shipping it and drawing it. These are all the transactions that are happening real time across the world. So these systems are maintained by our team information technology, what I call is this. And these systems have got in the back end, what we do is our teams are managing the operations of these systems. What is the meaning of operations? We patch these systems, these applications, these servers, whether it is operating system, whether it is an application, whether it is a hardware or software component, any of these things we maintain in these data centers without having a downtime for any of the manufacturing sites. So that is the main function, is to have the availability and performance of the systems within these data centers. That is the function. Now, how do we do it? We have a team called solution team, and the solution team is designing and managing the change processes. So changes are happening on a continuous basis for the software, but at the same time, systems have to be up and running. So this is what is, we manage this change process through development. And development, what do we need? We need developers. We need skill sets of people who are coding. You may be aware of the programming, isn't it? You need a lot of programming skills, designing, architects. These are the roles that we see in that area. So the solution team is one area where the development life cycle happens, where the process is designed and rolled out and changed into these data centers on the applications. On the other side, there is an operations. We call it as patching, security monitoring. Security patching is very, very critical in these times of security threats that are so huge that, but you must have heard of ransomware, isn't it? That's a constant threat for our systems in our data centers. So every time there is a new ransomware, you can imagine if all our factories, you can say that if 3 data centers are down and we cannot access the systems, imagine all the 200,000 people that are working in these factories would be stopping their work. So it's a huge, huge amount of impact. So we have what is called data protection, data backup systems, and a lot of various systems we are maintaining, which are called disaster recovery systems, which means we make sure that if data center 1 goes down, how do we manage and bring up the systems within certain minutes? Or, we have what is called RTO, that means return to operation again. We have 4 hours of operation. So we bring up the system in another data center and make sure that, again, the access is available. So these are the things, operations we maintain. And what are the challenges that we are facing today in this current world is, as you might have heard, the supply chain is continuously being stressed in the last couple of years, isn't it? The components are being, so we are also manufacturing, we are having that same problem of manufacturing where components are shortage is there, chip shortage is there. We use chips all because of nature of our company is that it's an electronic manufacturing company. So chip shortage is a very, very visible in all of our operations. And so what is the challenge is the real-time monitoring of data across the supply chain. So we have groups of teams across the regions where supply chain operations are managed to supply the material to our factories, isn't it? So these systems are what our operations make sure that the supply chain real-time monitoring is being happening to these teams so that they are able to divert materials from different regions and supply to the areas where there is shortage of material. So the managing of these materials is a huge challenge in the last at least 2 years, isn't it? Earlier it used to be okay. The other challenge in our area, what we are saying is finding the right talent of people who are having the coding skills, the programming skills, and the technical skills. We are finding that it's very difficult nowadays to attract people, and even if you attract, retaining the people, isn't it? So that is what is also happening. And how are we meeting these challenges, isn't it? We are having in the IT field, we have what is called low code platforms, no code platforms. So what is we call them, we want to develop ordinary functional business people into a citizen developers. We call it as a citizen developer. That means you and I who are doing functional, you may be doing a functional finance process, isn't it? Say a finance accounts receivable process. Now that you can easily work on a platform that we provide, and that platform can be used to automate that means they are basically doing a coding, isn't it? So they are able to code on these platforms. So that's how we are providing these platforms to these business functions, and they're able to, do some automation and have a better productivity. So this is another way we are meeting some of these challenges, citizen development, we call it. Yeah, so real-time monitoring. And what are the areas that another challenging is the constant change of technologies, isn't it? So technologies we call it as the end of life of a software. So once the end of life is after 3 years or 5 years, we have to change it. Same thing, hardware. 5 years, the servers have to be refreshed. We call it a tech refresh. That means every time we have to buy new servers. So what are we trying to do is we are moving away from on-premise data centers to a cloud technologies. So that means we are moving. So we are right now in the process of a hybrid cloud strategy we are following, where our on-premise instances or systems are being migrated to the cloud, and we work with the cloud for service providers and try to manage this so that we have the same availability, same systems are running from these factories, and they're able to maintain. So right now what we are doing is a lot of automation, machine learning. We are using a lot of machine learning in our factories, and robotics. These are the areas, and AI, artificial intelligence, also coming into because to meet all of these challenges and increase the productivity and rapid growth there is an exponential growth, isn't it? In all of if you see, there is a lot of exponential growth in the manufacturing, and so automation is going on. We call it as an industry 4.0, where it's completely machines on the shop floor are interconnected, and the testing is done automatically, and there's a lot of machine learning algorithms are used. So this is what is happening on the manufacturing floor. So support those processes and changes. Our operations team is through these data centers, through cloud providers, we are supporting them remotely. So this is the summary of what I do and our team does. Any questions from anybody, please let me know. Thank you.
Well, that's a lot of technology I have just witnessed, from warehousing, real-time monitoring, ransomware, cloud computing, AI, ML. So everything in nutshell, you can hear it from this. So thank you, Rotarian Ishwar Reddy, for your wonderful insight on software. So next we have Rotarian Melissa Moore from Rotary E-Club of Florida on classification on law.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just got done cooking. But so I'm Melissa Moore Stockham. I'm the president of the Florida E-Club, and this will be very short and sweet. But as far as our club, because we are small, we're at this point about 15 active members, several honorary. If you're going to serve, you have to have love behind what you're doing. If most of us who have been in a situation in our lives where we have found ourselves in a job we didn't care to do, we were just doing it because we had to, or we were in a relationship that was draining on us, and we just stayed in it because it was supposedly the right thing to do. It drains you. When you have something you truly care about that is passed on through your life, I think it tends to make you more passionate about what you're doing. You get less tired because you realize, you see where it's going. And that's why something is called a labor of love. The idea is something is very difficult, but very important to you, but at the same time, it's something that doesn't tire you, it doesn't stress you out, it doesn't make you just want to walk away because you know the purpose of it. So as far as how we just try to, whenever we see a need, we try to bring it up at a meeting and try to fill it. I know we have one member who is very active in making sure vaccinations take place. And so she set up several events for that purpose. We have another member for whom helping the poor is very important, and she set up her own charity. We encourage people to follow their hearts and to see however we can help. So basically, that's all I have at this point.
Thank you,
Rotarian. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning here in Saturday morning, so that's morning. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rotarian Melissa. So we had 4 classifications here in this platform. For firstly, hospitality, then space services, software, and law. So now it's the time to interact regarding any queries or anything to point out for anybody. Now you utilize this time and just put your ideas in it or your queries in it. Anything from hospitality, so space services, software, law. So anybody we have?
Hi, this is Gitanjali here. I'm the Secretary of Rotary E-Connect. It's a wonderful, this is the first time we are part of such a meeting, and thanks for initiating it. What I would request is, if it is possible, one way of taking forward the meeting and, be connected with all the fellow Rotarians here. Probably it would be nice if we can get the contact details of all the Rotarians participating here.
Okay, so Gitanjali has mentioned regarding the communication part where you people can. So for that, you can just hold on where you can just drop down your contact details in the chat box and everyone can grab that. I guess that's one way. Well, how do you say, people?
I'd like to share something.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, since we're all E-Clubs, one of our challenges is getting to know each other. And last year when I was president, we started doing something we call Rotarian of the Month. And so first Rotarian would pick the next one. But when you're Rotarian of the Month, and a bulletin goes out with pictures of you, you tell your full story, you lead the 4-way test when we had our Zoom, and then at the next meeting when you pick, you also tell more personal things about yourself. So it's been a really good way to build better friendship, because one by one we've gotten to know each other a little better.
That's a wonderful thought. Yeah.
Well, thank you, John. Well, is there anybody have any queries on these classifications? Anybody need to point out anything?
I think Subir sir had a question on the chat box. Could you read that out, Arshit?
Okay, from Subir, we had a question to Rotarian Isha. Which are top no-low code platforms according to you? So Rotarian Isha. Okay, so
yeah, so yeah, on the low code platform. So UiPath is one thing that we use at our place. UiPath is one. The other one is Pegasystems, is what we have used earlier, last couple of years. But recently we have switched to UiPath. That's been more user friendly. So we have, you've been using UiPath is one that we have been using. And almost other platforms are also coming up. There are many platforms that are coming up and offering these solutions. Yeah, low code type of thing.
Thanks, Ishwarji.
Okay, thank you. Well,
so I have a question on the about the what's the space sciences, isn't it, on the space sciences? So I wanted him to just share what's the vision for the next couple of years for Indian space, and what's the cost of hosting a satellite and putting it into the orbit, from if a private person wants a satellite to be placed, is it possible? Is that something possible? Is Indian Space Agency considering to do a commercial carrying of satellites for any private organization? Say if I want to monitor my city or my state in a whatever, and can I go and order a satellite and do that? Or is that something? Maybe you can shed some light.
Yes, sir. Answering to your question.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah. You're audible. Little bit
answering
breaking. I think voice is little bit breaking, but yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So probably I'll put off my video because it may
I
occupy
think that would be better.
bandwidth. Yeah. To answer to your question, yes, sir. In India, ISRO is been launching the satellite for other countries or other private agencies for more than say nearly 18 years. For the past 18 years, we are doing so. To answer to your question precisely, though all the countries, more than 50 countries are making satellites of their own, but only hardly few, 7 to 8 countries have the capability to develop the rocket to put them into space. To see that, so what happens is the countries who are making the satellites, who don't have the rockets, they come to us and we launch their satellites through our launch vehicles. And we are doing it, yes. And also we have got our own like INSEL. Now, earlier it was Andrex, where it was our commercial wing of ISRO, where anyone who wants to put their satellite into space through any of the Indian launch vehicle, they can just contact our Andrex. Earlier it was Andrex, now it is India Space Limited. After the new refurbishment called by this current government, we call it as the INSEL. So through INSEL, just if you contact, you can, based on your application, whether if you have developed your own satellites and if you want only a launch service from us, or if you have got an application and even you want to develop one of the transponder in one of our satellites, so end to end. So even for you, a satellite or a particular payload can also be customized and put in one of our satellite and it will be launched. So that's been done. And as you rightly said, the cost, I don't know the exact figure, but there is a cost chart, based on the, geostationary satellite. What I remember hardly was like, some couple of years back, putting a 1 kg in geostationary orbit the cost charged by NASA was something like $500 but whereas in India we were doing it for $200 And to answer to one of your questions, like for our first Chandrayaan mission was that was our first maiden mission. So that was the open call to all the nation, and we have got 11 different payloads from different countries. Like NASA had their 3 payloads, and ESA had 2 payloads, and we ourselves had 4 payloads. On all these different payloads, we integrated our satellite Chandrayaan-1, and we launched it in 2000. I think it is on 2009. I think so. And to precisely the first satellite to go to the moon with a variety of spectrum, starting from lower frequency to the visible light. So because 11 payloads, each were operating in different visible bands, and that was the only satellite which could be able to image the moon even in a visible spectrum, but also in a radar spectrum simultaneously. So, yes, sir, we can make it, we can do it, and our ultimate aim is to serve the people. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rotarian Vaidyanathan. And we have Subir Thar who has raised his hand. So do we have any queries, Subir?
Yeah, in the same thread, I had a question for Rotarian Vaidyanathan. Till now, India has been sending satellites through rockets which are actually not reusable. Whereas you have now rockets coming in from Jeff Bezos as well as
Elon Musk,
which are reusable rockets, right? So I believe that the cost of sending a rocket, sending a satellite, comes down drastically by my common logic that if in the case of the 2 upstarts, right? And there are many other companies which are going to come up which are going to use reusable rockets. So my question is that if this was very much evident for a long time, how does it compare now with, I mean, the Indian approach compares with these? And if it is really costly now, the Indian approach is going to be costly as compared to the 2 US ones, then why did India miss this bus that of not adopting the reusable rockets?
Sir, to answer to your question, actually, we have not missed it. We have got our own project called Reusable Launch Vehicle Project, and we have also flown a reusable small model version of a rocket called Technology Demonstrator, Reusable Launch Vehicle Technology Demonstrator, which flows like a rocket and which reaches a particular height, and it descends as a small aeroplane and lands in the runway. So a technology demonstrator, which we had also we have completed in, I remember it is 2018. So reusable launch vehicle technology is there in our pipeline, and the works are going on in it. See, actually, if you see US or other countries, there are 2 ways you can reuse the technology, reuse the rocket parts. One is you design a launch vehicle, and once you launch it, you try to collect all the parts of the launch vehicle, which are separated parts, bring it down, refurbish, and use it for the next mission. That's what NASA is doing in a space shuttle mission, where when you launch a space shuttle, the cryo tank and the boosters and the space shuttle as such, which comes down and which is being used in the next mission. So that, as you said, rightly said, which cuts the cost totally. And the second version is bring down the rocket as such down. That's what now the SpaceX are doing. SpaceX, what they do is, their mission, their rocket, they plan in such a way that after reaching a particular height, instead of separating, you just have additional fuel and bring it down and land it. So that is really, completely recovering the rocket 100%. So that is technically very complex, because the rockets are designed to take, an object from launch pad to space, where it gradually descends against the gravity based on its thrust. But if you want to bring it down, with velocity, it will be coming with a tremendous velocity, which you have to have a very big guidance system, but probably, you know, the SpaceX has mastered it and they have done it. And we are also in the pipeline. We are also doing it. And, so it's not a miss to answer to your question. So we are doing it. Probably we will be reaching it in a couple of years.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I have a question for Joanne. You know, Joanne, your ranch, how is the climate change affecting your ranch maintenance and support? And do you see, are you taking any proactive actions to mitigate this climate change patterns that are happening?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, all our activities, the major
the question is,
the
question is for Joanne Vaidyanathan. Yeah.
Thank you for asking. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
The environment in Texas has become hotter and hotter. And
Exactly.
how it impacts our business is literally in July and August, I close the business because it's so hot. I don't want people to come and be miserable. But what we are doing is little steps like planting lots of trees. We put on solar on our house and on the cabins, and praying a lot that everybody else will get on the the bandwagon and make a difference in the world. It's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's a huge concern. And I think it's the most important thing that Rotary is doing right now is trying to support the environment.
So are you doing some education in the around, you know, whoever is visiting in terms of climate change? Because there is so much of misinformation around climate change. Still, people are not able to, you know, believing it. Are you thinking of doing some educating on it? It is real. Climate change is real, and it is, we are feeling it, isn't it? So, because I think we are trying to do some educational efforts around communities where people have to realize that they have to work in this area right from now in order to make a, you know, difference in the coming years.
Right. There's no question. We've got to have a cultural shift where people, and of course, you've heard that Texas is not one of the areas where people particularly care. So the cultural shift, I see it is that you're right, communicating, educating people. And that's what Green Steps is all about, our committee. And of course, with what we do, I tweet it, we put it on Facebook. You know, it's just a matter of slowly we have to shift the culture towards everybody has to help.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. That's for that.
Thank you, Rotarians. Do we have any other queries or suggestions to put forward?
Ashad, allow me one question. This is to both John as well as Ishwar sir. Sir, ma'am, I would like to understand how Rotary has helped your professional experience. How being a Rotarian has enhanced your profession?
So for me, Rotary is your every week whenever we are meeting different different people from different. It's like a diversity, isn't it? It's a diversity. How does the diversity help you, isn't it? It is everybody comes with their own idea, their own way of looking at solving a problem. Common denominator is solving a problem, isn't it? We are all looking at the one problem in our communities, whether it is having locally each community, what are their needs? Is we are looking at the needs and what can we do to make a difference in them. So each person comes up with it, and we are learning every time, every meeting. I learn so much from each of them that I feel I'm looking forward to the next meeting, because I'm also motivated to always make a difference, whichever community that problem is being addressed. So I'm also interested in the for example, education. I was telling is that we have many projects around educating people, removing the misinformation, and educating from the young itself. So the other connectivity is first thing, and different perspectives is another. And this is a fundamentally it's a diversity of opinions. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rotarians. So,
John, ma'am, would you like to answer this also? How Rotary gives hospitality?
Okay, so can go with that also.
I think, John, the question was for you.
I did not hear it.
Yeah, the question was, how does Rotary helping you in your mission or in your efforts? How is the Rotary helping you professionally or day to day? I think that was the question from. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. And it's also a hard question. Well, there's no question that Rotary is all about making a difference in the world, and it helps me individually. And we do get some Rotarians that come and visit us, but also I think the supporting the environment is probably the biggest part of where Rotary is helping.
Yeah. And Rotary is a template, like it has got the framework, it has got that, the regularity of meeting, and new members come and join, and they keep adding ideas how to solve a problem. So that culture of that predictability, having that diversification of ideas, I think that's the biggest difference it makes. Yeah.
And also, the environment attracts a lot of young people. We've got some young members that are so enthusiastic, and it's the supporting the environment that they're all about. They know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so they want to.
Yeah, the cross-generational collaboration is very. I see that there are at least 2-3 generations of Rotarians in a Rotary Club. And all of them, are talking to each other, which is a very, very good thing, when you're talking across generations. Yeah.
Correct. That's a big thing in our club for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
So right now we have Subhida has raised his hand, so it would be the last question, I suppose. So Subhida, okay. So
thank you.
What's your question?
So thank you, John, for the beautiful inputs. Maybe next time I'll ask the other question to you. Now I'll ask Rotarian Ishwar one question. So Ishwarji, one question is about this. You mentioned about the chip shortage. Okay.
Yeah.
We keep hearing now that whether automobiles or whether any electronics, everything is getting delayed by many months because there is an immense chip shortage. I have not read too much about this topic, but I have been wondering that why is this chip shortage? And I mean, no manufacturing capacity has actually been destroyed in any sense. Okay, it's not that something factory has been destroyed and that's a shortage. So, and then possibly as a risk mechanism, I mean, people should have realized that there is going to be a chip shortage. So why in these last 2 years, why the capacity has actually not been increased in the world that we have landed into such a situation? What is that I'm missing actually? I mean, please educate us.
So yeah, a couple of reasons. See, it's the same analogy to toilet paper. Now, why did toilet paper, we got over in the shelves of, all of the, because suddenly people started hoarding all of the toilet paper. Now, if you see the manufacturing capacity of toilet paper is the same, isn't it? You don't have a forecast of, hey, suddenly this is going to be a huge demand, isn't it? Suppose you have a demand of 100 rolls or 100 packages, you have a capacity that's across the globe and it's generating those 100 packages, isn't it? Now, once it is, suddenly people just decide that, hey, we are going to just pick everything and just empty all the shelves. What happens? The demand is like 4 times, say 400 you have. But the capacity, the plants, manufacturing plants are the same, 10 or 15, whatever, isn't it? You have to build another manufacturing. So increase the capacity is very difficult, isn't it? In the case of even toilet paper, I'm just giving an analogy of this. The same thing happened with chips. What happened in the beginning of this thing is chips, all the automakers, chips are being used everywhere now, isn't it? Every device, all cell phones, all even a fridge and a TV and every device is having a chips. So along with toilet paper and other consumables, people started hoarding even chips also. They started buying chips. Okay, the demand just, what happens, the capacity to make chips is the same old set of manufacturing of chips is same. So, and in case of chips, what's happening, the timeline it takes to create a chip and design a chip and release to market, to create, to install a factory, it's like a 5-6 years period. It is actually huge. Lead time is huge. And the investment is thousands of billions of dollars, not just like a toilet paper. Okay, you can make a factory with a small investment, but this is like huge. Even if I start the factory for making a chips, it's going to take at least 2-3 years. So right now, if you see, a lot of such chips making are coming up, but they are still in the work in progress. Okay, that's why we are saying this year, sometime 2022, middle or so, some of the things are going to come online and start supplying. So it's exactly the same thing. People have just hoarded and started using it, thinking that they will not get, they want to meet the demand, isn't it? Suddenly automobiles all increase, the demand increase, if you remember last few months. And they start, and that's how the same old thing is happening in the market. Yeah, nothing new. Yeah,
perfect. Thanks.
It's just a complex supply chain is so complex for chip that you are feeling it at this time. Yeah, a little later than the toilet paper. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for this beautiful explanation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, so I would like to thank Rotarian Ganesh Kumar, Assistant Governor, RI District 3201, and Rotarian CT Tyagarajan, District Chair Membership Development, RI District 3201, for their presence in the meeting class of Rotary. Well, showing gratitude is one of the simplest but yet most powerful acts that humans can deliver. Now, I take this opportunity to call upon Rotarian Ratnavel for the vote of thanks.
Am I audible, Rashid?
Yeah, cool to go.
So on this wonderful occasion, on the completion of the first ever edition of Class of Rotary, I am very thankful to a lot of people. So let me start from this part of the world to this part of the world. My first thanks goes to Rotarian Joan Bolts and Ken Bolts of the Rotary E-Club of Central Texas. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. They were the first to join, and they gave us a wonderful lecture about their club as well as about their classification hospital. We wish them all the best, and once we come to Texas, I think we will try to use your services. We will try to use your placement. Thank you. Thanks a lot for sparing your time. I think it's early morning in USA. It was so nice of you to spend your time here with us. Thank you, Rotarians from the Rotary E-Club of Central Texas. We had the president of Rotary E-Club of Florida, Rotarian Mary, joining us, and she took excuse after a wonderful talk, and she spoke straight from the heart. Thanks, Rotarian Mary and Rotary E-Club of Florida. The first club that came to my mind is one of the most active E-Clubs of our country, the Rotary E-Club of E-Connect. So I'm extremely thankful to Rotarian Subirdar sir, Rotarian Geetanjali Madam, and Rotarian Ishwar Reddy sir of the Rotary E-Club of E-Connect for coming on board. On your approval, we got confidence that we could move on with this project. Thank you very much, the Rotary E-Club of E-Connect. We look forward to continuously working with you. After all, Coimbatore and Bangalore are two places that like each other. Thank you. And I would like to thank the Rotary E-Club of Coimbatore Changemakers, led by a president who's sitting in Chennai in this hemisphere, and a secretary who's sitting in Canada in the other hemisphere, and a lot of members who joined from different locations. Thank you, Rotary E-Club of Coimbatore Changemakers. I would like to specially thank the members in waiting, or the probable members of the club, like Mr. Venkatesh, Mr. Satak, Mr. Rajagopal, who have joined for this meeting. Thank you, future Rotarians. I would especially like to thank Rotarian CT Tyagarajan sir, District Chair Membership Development of RI District 3201, and Rotarian Ganesh Kumar sir, Assistant Governor of RI District 3201, for making their presence and supporting the club. Rotaractors, I can never imagine a program with them, without them, sorry. So I should thank the Master of Ceremonies, Rotaractor Asher of the Rotaract Club of Rising Stars. Thank you, Asher, for your flawless coordination. I would like to thank Rotaractor Shakti Sridevi, Rotaractor Prem Kumar, Rotaractor Rajagopal, and all other Rotaractors who have joined us for this meeting. I'd like to thank once again, one and all. I think we have created a wonderful memory today. I'm sure this will inspire us for more such program. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Noel. So being a Rotaractor, I felt like I have witnessed a wonderful session throughout, like a lot of insights, learnings, and moreover, for me personally, it's a gateway to Rotary. So I really enjoyed. Once again, thanks all of you for your valuable time, for your participation. And now everyone are free to leave this meeting. Thank you, people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before that, if it could possible for all of you to have turn your videos for a second, I would like to take a screenshot.
Okay, so members, just hold on a minute. Just we can take a screenshot